Live tonight from the virtual Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 2 of the 2022 Real Sim Racing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. Well, as always, we're happy that you're spending your Monday night with us here on RaceSpotTV. We're alongside, as always, our producer downstairs, Hugo Luis. Happy to be joined by Josh Lee in the broadcast booth tonight. Myself, Evan Pasoko, as well. And Josh, we're coming off of a season opener at Daytona that, when you look at the stat sheet, doesn't imply surprises, right? Andrew Freenage, coming off of a 4th consecutive Cup Series championship, wins the season opener. But that was not the tail of the tape at Daytona. He wasn't a factor for much of it. But Big Rex late in that race shuffled the field, and when you give Andrew Freenage a perfect start to a year, you got to think everybody's sweating, even though it's only week number 2.
And we got to talk about that photo finish that also accompanied that race at Daytona. It was an exciting one to the end. If we can carry that momentum through the rest of this Winter Series schedule, we're in for some exciting races. And here at Auto Club Speedway, one of those tracks that, in these Xfinity cars especially, always seems to have some exciting moments. I'm excited to see what these drivers can do out there on the track.
And we talk about this trip to Fontana. Let's take a look at this 2-mile D-shaped oval and welcome in tonight's driver analyst, 8-time RSR winner, Thomas George. Thomas, thanks for joining us in the RaceSpotTV booth tonight. Josh set it up there for you. Xfinity cars at Fontana. We were talking pre-race how you love this 2-mile D-shaped oval circuit as opposed to that, proposed redesign to a short track. What's so good about this racetrack, and what are we going to see out of these Xfinity Series cars tonight?
Well, first, just want to say thanks for bringing me up into the booth tonight, and I gotta say I love this track, both in real world and in iRacing, because it's such a wide track. You can kind of run just about anywhere you want to if you have the stones to do it, if I'll say that. And I don't know. Racing last night in one of the Gen 7 cars, the Highline seemed to be kind of the preferred groove here. I'm not sure if that'll be the same for the Xfinity cars. It's kind of hard to say on that one, but it does. You got to remember that these cars do have the most horsepower now in terms of what NASCAR tends to run. So it's going to be a little bit of possible looseness, a little tightness. It's going to make for an interesting race, I think.
And it's a night race as well, which is going to be exciting. One of several on this 2022 campaign. We'll also be racing under the lights next week at a short track when we head to Iowa. But you take a look at this schedule, and Josh, this is a point that we highlighted on the broadcast last week at Daytona. You look at the first, I was going to say 5, but really you can go all the way to the first 8 races, right? There is no duplicates of anything. I mean, these drivers are going to be challenged on so many disciplines, so many different kinds of tracks that we're going to see drivers who maybe they weren't a fan of Daytona could thrive at a place like Auto Club. If you're not a fan of these bigger racetracks, maybe you take advantage of Iowa next week. If you're a road course guy, Mid-Ohio at around 4, there is not, 5 intermediates here or a group of short tracks there. It really is quite the broad schedule for this 10-race championship.
Yeah, like you mentioned, going all the way through Talladega, that is going to be the first duplicate track type, with it being a restrictor plate track. But even Lucas Oil Raceway, before then, the shortest track that we have on the calendar is Iowa, which is a bit of a hybrid, short track and an intermediate. Lucas Oil Raceway, a bit more of a short track, and then Las Vegas to round out the calendar, being the second intermediate that we go to, accompanying the Chicagoland Speedway. So it's very unique calendar that really is going to test these drivers every single week, because tonight we're at a big, bad, fast speedway. Next week we're going to be at a hybrid short track intermediate, then to a road course, then to an actual intermediate, then to another short track intermediate hybrid, then somewhat of a short track in New Hampshire, back to the plate track, back to a short track, back to an intermediate. They're swapping all over the place as they go through this calendar.
And you know, it's a 10-race calendar, no drops, right? So it's straight up championship racing. And, you know, Thomas, you compare that to what we see in the SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series, when you have to deal with elimination rounds and, you know, trying to get a win to get yourself in. How would you attack a 10-race calendar? Can you afford to be a little bit more laid back, knowing that, you know, the race win's going to be great, but maybe it's not worth wrecking for a win? Take the points. Or because it's only 10 weeks, do you have to go 110% every night, as we take a live look in at some qualifying?
I think maybe 10 years ago you could afford to lay back. I think the competition wasn't as stiff as it is now in both the Real Series and in sim racing. I think my mentality has always been that of Mark Martin, just get the most you can out of the car without stepping the boundaries. But with the competition that this league does provide, and just from first to 20th, any of those guys can win. It doesn't matter who you are, and you can go first to 30th in some cases. It's such a competitive field now that you almost have to go 110%. But kind of how the best I could put it is how Max Verstappen drives. He's on the razor's edge. It's the same kind of thing here. You have to push it to that limit and sometimes step over it, but you've got to be careful not to ruin your own race, even if it is for a win. Sometimes finishing second can win you a championship, but if you wreck for the win and you finish 30th, that's it. You only got 10 races, so you got to make each one count.
And that's going to be something we follow throughout. Something important to note as well, as qualifying draws down to a close. 36 drivers attempting to race in tonight's Sim Speed Shop 160. That's important because that means nobody is knocked out of qualifying. It's also important to note because that also means that that'll open up 4 spots for the some 20-plus drivers on the wait list to maybe make an appearance next week at Iowa. So coming into this round number 2, Andrew Freenosh leads the championship, no surprise, courtesy of that race win at Daytona International Speedway. He scores 41 points and has a 5-point lead over Ross Cato in second position. Brandon Bowie is 6 points back in third. Of course, Cato finished second to him in that thrilling photo finish last Monday night. And something else that was announced this week is that there will also be a trophy presented to the team champions for this 2022 RealSimRacing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. So after week number 1, Keepin' It Real Esports has a 20-point advantage over Extreme Performance Motorsports for the team championship. It's important to note that both of those teams have 6-7 drivers apiece, but in the RSR point standings for team championships, only your top 3 finishers from each team count towards team points each week. That being said, qualifying has drawn to a close. Let's go trackside and take a look at your Sim Speed Shop starting grid. And Nick Cohan is on pole position this afternoon. His 41.174 will bring us to the green flag, 9 1/1000ths ahead of championship leader Andrew Freenosh, who will start in second. Sam Nieto starts third tonight alongside Michael Araya in fourth. Ross Cato is fifth, and William Schmidt is P6, Josh.
Brandon Bowie is going to start to the inside of that 4th row. Chris Rebel going to start to the outside P8. Kyle Trudell and Nick Silver going to share that 5th row, rounding out the top 10, with Sean Casto and Grant Davis going to round out the first 6 rows.
Liam Machine is in 13th spot alongside with Nicholas Barra in 14th. And then Kyle Kamer and Jeremy Miller will rake up row number 8. Trey Browning starting tonight in 17th position, and Tim Johnston will start from 18th. Thomas?
In the number 48 car, Jaron Weinmeister in 19th, James Ross in the 14 will be starting 20th. The next row after that will be the number 5 of Joseph Thies in 21st. Dane Cruz in the 33 will be starting 22nd.
And continuing on through, you got the likes of Benazzi Major and Kenny Brady through the top 24 positions. A lot of work to do, Josh, when you get back close to the 30s with the likes of Mara Brothers, Josh Ball. You got even Dylan Parker backing down in 30th.
And looking through to the rest of the field, Brandon 6, Mike Kuczynski, Malik Ray in the Space Station game in number 1, back in 33rd. Rhett McBride, a veteran of this series. James Pasquarello Jr. and Steve Soa going to round out the 36 drivers who are ready to take the green flag here in virtual Southern California. But look at this field, 36 cars strong. This is going to be an exciting one for 80 laps tonight.
We're looking at a 160-mile race. So before we get underway, Thomas, who are you looking for in this one?
Oh man, I want to cheer for my buddy Nick Cohen on the pole there, but it's just so hard to go against Andrew. He's always so good at these kinds of tracks, but you know what? I'm going with the pole winner. Nick Cohen's going to win tonight.
We'll see what Nick Cohen can do. He had some speed in that season opening race at Daytona, but it didn't necessarily translate into the result he wanted. He'll look to improve on that this evening. The pace car, I'm going to dive down to the safety of the pit lane. We're happy that you're with us on RaceSpotTV. It is Nick Cohen's field to control as we say, let's go Winter Series racing in Fontana. Green flag in the air.
Already starting to fan out, almost 3 wide. They will go 3 wide a little bit further back, but Nick Cohen trying to hold on to that race lead. Andrew Farinar's trying to come back on the outside. 3 wide, a little bit further back for a moment as they were fighting for P4. And
we got a wreck.
in the back, the 18 and the 13 get caught up together.
Early trouble and an early caution as Trey Browning was turned around off of turn number 2. There is a lot of apron to work with on the back straightaway, and they used it to avoid that spinning 18 Toyota Supra. There was contact that sent him around. All things considered, though, could have been a lot worse, and I think the replay will show us that Sean Casto was somewhere near the start of this one. Casto may have been what started it all. It looked like he maybe got a little bit loose, and I wonder if the contact that actually happened was simply drivers trying to avoid him. You would think, Thomas, racing at night, cooler conditions, a little bit more grip than if it was a hot, sunny SoCal afternoon, but I mean, getting these Xfinity Series cars up to speed can be tricky. Let's watch Casto, the Gold 52.
Yeah, just if I had to guess what happened here, maybe somebody's just trying to make a little bit too much of a room here. These cars, the best thing I could say is during the night courses, nighttime events, the cars can get so tight if you're trying to wheel it around, you end up actually causing it to go to a tight, loose condition off the corners. So Auto Club notorious for that, especially off of 2 when it comes to spinning the tires.
A tough break there brings out a very early caution flag in this race, and I think that just kind of went to show you, Josh, that really hard to place the blame to anybody in specific on that one. You can see the 52 got loose, and then right here, it almost looks like Browning got a little bit loose, and then as they all go to avoid the spinning car, might have been the 13 that went up, got the 18. You can see the 8 car got spun around, and Malik Ray gets the heavy damage. Look at the front end of that machine. The SimSeats car is destroyed, and somehow, after being nowhere near where that incident started, Malik Ray gets terminal damage, and his night is done just like that.
Only making it through turns 1 and 2. Soa, Kuczynski, Parker, Ball, 6, Winemaster, and more all coming into the pit lane. And let's take a look at this replay. Here is how Malik Ray got involved. You can see the spinning 18 in the middle. Everybody checks up, and Malik Ray barely trying to avoid it. And he hit the 18 with that left side, and that put him right over into the wall. No head-on damage, but the damage was done to that car either way. He towed it back into the pit lane, and like you mentioned, Evan, night already over for Malik Ray, and he'll be finishing 36th here. He had a less than stellar finish at Daytona. This is definitely not what Malik Ray was looking for here in RSR.
And also, no driver has claimed responsibility for the incident. That one's going to go to a post-race review. 2 drivers were penalized last week for unclaimed caution flags. Basically, if you claim responsibility for the yellow flag, you get an end of the longest line of penalty. It is done there. If you don't claim it, then you will get a post-race penalty of 2 penalty points plus a 5 championship point penalties. So both Kenny Brady, Rhett McBride were given point penalties for unclaimed cautions. This one going to go to a review. So, I was kind of thinking coming into this race, Thomas, this is certainly a race that can get some legs underneath it and go green for quite some time. It seems to always be a racetrack that finds itself on this kind of calendar. Of course, last year we went to its sister track in Michigan, but that Michigan race only had 2 cautions, and we've already got 1 under our belt here tonight in Fontana. So I don't know if the early yellow is a sign of things to come, but I still got some faith that this thing has got some green flag racing left in it.
I think the nerves will get settled down. They'll figure out what the cars are capable of doing, because even though this is a 2-mile D oval like Michigan is, it's deceptive. It has a lot less grip. You can run the bottom, you can run the top, and that wreck right there we just saw, you had 3-4 wide in some cases coming off of 2, and people trying to make the moves here early to get as much track position, because that is a key here above all else. So I think they'll get settled in, but it may take a couple of laps before we actually get to that point.
The restart procedure will allow the control car to determine which lane they want, and through that very short opening run of this race, Andrew Freenach had a nose in front of the 21 Nick Cohan at the time of the caution flag, which means that he is the control car for this race, and he has selected the inside line for the restart. So the pace cars get to head down to the pit lane this time, and Freenach has any time between when the pace car hits pit road to the exit of the restart box to restart this race. They pace at 70 miles an hour, and his right foot's down. He goes through the gears. Green flag is back in the air. 4 laps down in Fontana.
You can see already coming into the picture, Michael Araya fighting in that number 44. He'll take a peek to the inside of Nick Cohen, and here comes Sam Nieto also into the picture as they go to the bottom of the racetrack. Andrew Freenach running the top of the racetrack. Interesting to see Evan already here early on in this race. The multi-groove is starting to come into play.
Yeah, it's something we expect to see, and, something you were talking about as well early, Thomas, looking at the high side versus the low side. Looks like up to speed in 3 and 4. Everybody down low up front, but the mid-pack, they're using every inch of this very wide racing surface.
Yeah, the top 5 is definitely singled out here. I think they just want to try and break away from that group and possibly settle this among themselves if it gets to that point. But you see Andrew almost up to the wall, just a lane up. Got a couple more in the back there doing it too. As Cohan's looking underneath here with that 88 of Andrew Freenach, he's going to have the momentum off the corner. But man, I got to say, I love seeing this. I love seeing just 2 different lanes coming into play here with this. Great racing.
First 5 cars breaking away on the lead of this. The first row battles back in line as Kyle Trudell tucks himself in line in the number 7 machine, so he defends P6 at the moment. Trudell is +3 from the early laps of this race. Look behind them, though, the number 29 car, Chris Rabel way to the inside. Trying to go 3 wide on Liam Sheen. Nick Silver into the mix as well. Grant Davis is number 24 Chevrolet. Looking to the outside, and there they are, top to bottom, all over this racetrack in 1 and 2. Now the inside's going to be the shorter way around. You can see Rabel made the pass, but look at Sheen, look at Davis. All those cars who swung down to the bottom, down the back, Josh, were the cars up top. They lost ground in the corner, but they had the speed off, and it was nearly contact there between Cato and the 2 Nieto.
And you can see just everybody when they go into these corners, seems like everybody has a different line they want to choose. Usually drivers, if they're trying to make a move, will try and go down to the inside line. If they're kind of just riding around, they'll go middle of the top line. Interesting to see how that's already coming into play. And you can see the 2 of Sam Nieto going right back down to the bottom, right into this top 4 line. Michael Araya went up to the outside in the 44, lost a bit of time to Cato, but now here he comes right back to the inside, and Cato's now going to be on the outside line. Laraya on the inside as they dive back into 3. What a move from the 44 of Michael Laraya. He'll put himself back up into P4. And Thomas, as they run right now, seems like everybody up at the front is starting to like what they're seeing.
Oh, absolutely. But you can also see that some want to get back to the front. You got the 12 of Ross Cato going back underneath the 44 of Michael Araya. I mean, it's just a fantastic thing to see this kind of thing going. As we got Cohen, he looks like he's going to be on the 88 up here. He might have the run coming off it too. But you were talking about the different lines everybody likes to take. Some people like to roll it into the corner. Some just want to throw that car in there. And it's just always interesting to see the different driving styles going here. As we got Nick Cohen, the 21, all over the 88's back bumper here.
Almost had a run to the outside off of 2, tucks in line. Let's see if he can get the run off of 4 and challenge for the race lead. You're looking off of the bumper of race leader Andrew Friedosh. He'll go down to the inside. Try to protect the bottom. Does Cohen force the issue, or does he stay in line? He will hold for the moment. And now he goes to the very outside line. Friedosh down to the inside. And Nick Cohen's going to try to wind this thing up on the exit at 2. Looked like he got a little bit higher than he wanted to. The back end stepped out a little bit. Not the run off of the corner he wanted. You see, he does close the gap back down to about a car length and a half by the time we get down to turn number 3. But he'll have to reset and try again. And behind them, it's the number 44 of Michael Araya. He's been able to get around Ross Cato. He wants to get around Sam Nieto, and they are side by side for the number 3 spot. Cato's got the best seat in the house as he'll choose the outside, and he's going to push Nieto down to turn number 1.
You can see Laraya still on that inside line. Cato not really anywhere for him to go as they were going too wide in front of him. Take a look at the stall from Laraya, though. Through turn number 2 is down on that inside line, and his run just completely stalled out. Bit of a shove from Brandon Bowie going to the back bumper of Ross Cato, trying to move that number 12 past the 44. Not going to work here as they go through turn 3. Laraya still on the inside. That's Cato and Bowie on the outside line as they fight off 4. Where's Bowie trying to go? It looked like he wanted to make a move middle 3 wide there. Decided wisely against it off of turn 4. Now the top 3 are trying to pull away as Ross Cato tries to keep up with them. Still Farinar, still Cohen, still Nieto at the front. But take a look at the stall from the top 3 now coming through 1 and 2. Here comes Ross Cato in the 12, right back up to fight within this top 5 now, Thomas.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm always concerned about when people are racing this aggressive, oh, we got a wreck on the backstretch.
Oh, the 52 hard into the inside wall. Bradley Burke locks it up and keeps it out of the fence. Caution flag number 2 comes at lap 12. And I could see something developing down the back straightaway. There were a couple of drivers on the apron as they came off of turn 2. It just seemed like somebody had checked up and it kind of backed everybody up. James Ross has claimed responsibility for the caution flag, so we'll see what the 14 machine did to get into all of this. I think Ross may have been the slow car, Josh, and that caused, a whole lane of cars to catch up to him. Let's watch from high above.
Oh, they almost went 3 wide there. Oh, it was a touch from the 54 of Kenny Brady in front of him. That was the 95 getting turned up. Now they go 4 wide. Where did that 52 come from? He just slammed into the driver in front of him as they went 4 wide and ended up turning around a handful of race cars. That was a very peculiar incident. There's the contact with the 54 to the 95. Here's the 4, almost 5 wide moment. Oh, and the 18 got turned. There was no contact with the 52 anywhere there. And that led to multiple drivers, looked like 5 or 6, getting turned around and damaged on the back straightaway.
So we almost avoided it. What a save there after the contact with Brady and Burke to hang on to it. And then it was afterwards where Ross made contact with Browning. And that ended up actually triggering the caution flag and maybe the reason why we saw James Ross claim responsibility for the incident. First time tonight, though, we see wholesale pit stops and Andrew Friedosh with big problems in his box. He enters. He is still not in the box correctly. These other cars are going to be off of pit road before your race leader can even begin service. You can see all of the skid marks in pit stall number 2, and Andrew Friedosh is going to go from the race lead to about 21st position after he absolutely blew that yellow flag, a pit service attempt. Wow, that is a huge change. Everybody but Steve Soa came to pit road. So Soa in the Sheets Chevrolet for subpar racing will cycle through to the race lead. Thomas, we'll see if he wants to stay out or if he'll change his mind. But these drivers only have 4 additional sets of tires in the pits, and it's only lap 14.
Yeah, and I was going to make mention before of the caution came out there, as you see Andrew here coming into his pit stall, and I'll make a note on that one too. But I was going to say that the way that some of these guys are racing, this track eats tires, and going from top to bottom and left, slowing down and accelerating just can absolutely kill the tires here. So they definitely wanted to grab those. As for what happened to Andrew, I can attest, I have made that mistake too. These pit stalls, for as big as they are, you still have to get in the center of that box, and if you lock up the brakes, you're not stopping. You're going to slide through, because whether or not iRacing has put concrete on those pit stalls, the physics yet, you do slide through them quite easily. It's the same thing that's happened in Michigan to me as well. So I talked about it earlier with the championship race. We only had 10 races. Andrew's got plenty of time to get back up through the field, but right now he's going to be in the hornet's nest, and if he's lost 20 points already. If he gets collected in a wreck, that championship battle's going to get turned on its head.
Almost looked like the way the car broke sideways, I don't know if he rolled down pit road in second gear and made a late downshift to first, because I've seen people slide through, right? But the way that thing broke sideways was super strange. And most of the time you make a mistake at the pit lane, you put it in reverse, you might lose a half a second. I mean, Freenosh, by the time he got righted, was only beginning service when everybody else was completing a 4-tire pit stop. So Steve Soa has pitted from the race lead. He does not even get a bonus point for leading a lap. Never was in front at the stripe. He drops to the rear. So the entire field is on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. Nick Cohen side by side, but the number 2 is Sam Nieto on the front row. Cohen, despite being on the outside, is the control car for this restart. Pace car down and in, and now we'll see what the number 21 machine up top wants to do. Waits a little bit longer than what we saw at Freenosh last time. He gets a great jump to turn 1. Green flag is back in the air, and here comes Lariah in a fight for second.
Ooh, almost 3 wide again, and Sam Nieto gonna move back up into line. Here comes Brandon Bowie, looking to make headlines at the front of the field, but they'll run to the outside. How about Michael Lariah? 3 wide for second, as Lariah, with the move of the night so far on lap 16, on the outside line, clears the 3rd and 4th place cars now. He goes back to the outside, as Nieto and Bowie gonna continue to fight on the inside line here, Thomas. They drift up the racetrack, and another great run from Lariah off 4.
Michael Lariah running that Kyle Larson line, using that momentum on the top there. Wondering if that's going to play into a late race restart again. Look at the run he's got. He's going low underneath Nick Cohan. He's going to fight for the lead. Nick stays on him. He's going to pinch him down off the corner, side by side, door to door. Coming off of 2. Who's got the advantage? Looks like it might be the 21, as he's got the momentum for now, but Lariah is all over him.
Did a good job of pinching the 44 down. Lariah was unable to get back to the throttle with how well that 21 was holding him down, and you could see the 44 muscling it through the corner. There was a big slide last time at this part of the racetrack for Brandon Bowie. His number 34 machine slides back to position number 5, and now he is under fire courtesy of the 92 car of Liam Sheen. Sheen coming up the inside of the 4 and Nick Silver. That fight a little bit further back for P6. As the fight up at the very front of the field continues. I mean, Nieto's there. You got Schmidt in the mix. I mean, this is great stuff early this afternoon from Fontana. And you can see again, Cato loose off of the corner all the way down to the white line on the back straightaway. He's got to pull up to block Nick Mara. The 40 car Amara has been very impressive to start this season. And now there is the fight up front again. Lariah trying to push his way through on the inside. Cohen a slight advantage at the stripe, but they are dead even.
They swapped lines here now. Lariah gonna have to run the inside. Nick Cohen gonna have to try and make it work on the outside. Sam Nieto still watching from the wings as Lariah's gonna clear. Here's the crossover move from Cohen. He's gonna look to the inside. Sam Nieto still sits in third. William Schmidt now gonna go for that move for P3. It is two fights here at the front. The battle for first is gonna go over to Nick Cohen, and the battle for third gonna go over to William Schmidt as Sam Nieto still tries to fight all four. The top two rows are side by side.
Can I just make a point to NASCAR? Please do not turn this into a short track, because this is great racing. As you see the 21 of Nick Cohen underneath the 44 trying to make it stick. The 79 of Schmidt and the 2 of Sam Nieto, they're vying for third over here. Nieto clears him. He's looking to maybe use the outside line in that draft with the 44. No! Cohen shuts the door. Nieto's going to go low, though, so no blocks will be thrown here tonight as Nieto's going for second. He wants to get that win, but we still got over 60 laps to go. Oh, my God, I'm smiling.
Yeah, every time we see somebody shut the door, they cross it. Was there a touch there? Cohen is way out of the throttle at a 4, and he's going to lose a handful of spots here. Schmidt goes through. Bowie goes through. Sheen now goes through. And Cohen drops 3 after there may have been the slightest of touches between he and the 2 of Sam Nieto. Looked like Nieto might have crowded him and pushed up a little bit in 3 and 4. So all of that work that Nick Cohen had to do has to start again. Your pole sitter down in P6. It's the lowest he's been all night long. Thinking about looking to the inside. You saw him peek a nose out. Doesn't do it yet. And for a small moment, cars inside of the top 10 can take a deep breath. Grant Davis is thinking about moves, but single file off of 4. Who's going to step at a line first? Bowie's pushing Schmidt in third. I think these cars want to catch up to those top 2. Lariah and Nieto about a half a second ahead of the pack as there goes Liam Sheen now way to the inside.
What a move for Liam Sheen, and what a run he's having so far as Brandon Bowie gets a great run. Tried to take it somewhere, but you can see both lanes in front of him now are filled by the 79 and the 92. Liam Sheen starting closer to mid-pack as Bowie makes a move to the inside, to the outside, excuse me, on that number 92. Started back in P13 tonight. A great run starting up for Sheen, trying to get a little bit further through the top 5, but he's going to lose the spot to Brandon Bowie. Now runs the risk of losing his spot to Nick Cohen, who's trying to work his way back up towards the front. Schmidt and Bowie now going to start to fight as Liam Sheen back on the inside line. Going to have a challenge from Nick Cohen to his outside as they race back down the back straightaway.
As you got the 92 here, he falls in line behind the 21 of Nick Cohen. They are all now, looks like, single file through what looks like the top 10. Don't have an exact card count. The question I'm wondering is, how long is it going to be before these guys decide that they need to start saving some tires? Because we only need one more pit stop, and I think with that, you have to go maybe 30 laps, give or take, at least halfway of that. And the other thing is track position. How much are they willing to fight and keep going with this? Because I have to make a note with this on where with Andrew Freenod, she restarted, I believe, around 20th or so. He's only made up 2 spots since that restart, so he's either biding his time or he's having that much of a difficult time getting through this field right now. But track position a key factor here as we get a battle for the lead. It looks like
here comes the 2 car looking to the inside. So once Mike Lariah has taken this over, the 2 machine has tried the bottom the last couple of laps. He wasn't able to clear last time, but this time off of 4 he does. And Sam Nieto, new race leader at lap number 25. He scores his first lap lead of the evening and also scores his first bonus point of this race. But we have yet to see, now on a 10-lap green flag run since the last restart, nobody's been able to get away at the front of the field. They may get 4-5 tenths of a second up, but they can't sustain it. Those cars behind are able to constantly close back in, and look at the mess for third odd back. Cohen has raced his way back from P6. He's almost got third all to himself. Yes, he does. Slides up on Schmidt, but Schmidt now crosses back to the inside, and the 79 car won't go without a fight.
Side by side, back into turn one. You can see up in front, Schmidt and Cohen fighting. Here's Brandon Bowie and Liam Sheen. You can throw Grant Davis and Nick Silver into the mix for a moment. I believe they almost went side by side there. Now here comes Brandon Bowie back to help William Schmidt in the 79. But Liam Sheen in the 92, a great run to the outside through turn three. They'll work their way back to the front straightaway, and you can see through the exit of the corner on the inside line, if the cars aren't set up too much for that, they stall out on the exit. We've seen it out of 2 a lot. That's the first time I've personally seen it coming out of turn 4. That's exactly what happened there, Thomas, to the 79 of William Sheen. His run stalled out, and he ended up losing not 1, but 2 spots, maybe even 3, as Grant Davis goes to the bottom.
Yeah, and that brings me back to the tire wear discussion. I'm just curious as to whether these cars are actually getting tighter now as the temperatures drop and the grip is up there, and whether or not drivers are overdriving them. I've always felt that, especially out of turn 4, if that right front has been abused early in the run, it's just going to keep pushing. And especially in these cars, which still have that, I mean, it doesn't matter what series it's going to be. You're going to have the dirty air. You're going to have the aero push coming up behind you. And the moment that you lose any momentum, it's just going to kill your run down these especially long straightaways. May not seem like much, but the draft here is a big part of it. It looks like Michael Arias taking the lead back from Sam Nito. Looks like we just missed that. But we got Nick Cohen now looking up for second as well.
Your 2-car had finally established himself as the race leader, but Lariah went to the inside of 1 and 2 and was able to clear the 2 machines. And the 44 leads, that's Michael Lariah. The number 2 machine is Sam Nieto sits in second, and then the number 21 Nick Cohen, your pole sitter, has raced his way back up to third. There is no doubt that Cohen has got a sporty Toyota here this afternoon, but it is Chevy, Ford, Toyota 1, 2, and 3. Right-hand side of your screen, there's the onboard look with Cohen. He's trying to chase down these leaders, and it looks like he's going to have the run through 2. You can see he closes into the back bumper of Nieto a little bit. There is some lap traffic up the road. Braden Whitaker in 31st position, about to become the 6th driver to be lapped. You can see the front end damage on Whitaker's Toyota. He stays high, goes out of the way. I don't think it played too much of a factor in the battle up front, but Cohen wasn't able to make the move into 3 like I think he would have wanted to. He'll try it again now with this run, and off the back, left-hand side, you can see Sheen in 4th. You got Bowie in 5th. A lot of fast race cars working their way towards the front, trying to get in on this fun.
And back into 1 they go. Nick Cohen, what a fight for him to get back up towards this front battle. Remember, a couple of laps ago, had made a mistake, had some contact off of turn number 4. That led to him having to now fight his way back up towards the front. And he is now sitting in P3. Liam Sheen starting to get further up into the top 5. He's in P4. But the story is Michael Lariah at the front right now, where if the tires are wearing as much as we think, is last time by lap times around the mid 42s for the majority of the field, and mid 41s is the best lap times of the race. Oh, everybody at the front just setting 42.6s here at the front, except for Kyle Trudell setting a 42.4. Fastest laps from everybody in the front around the 41.2, 41.3 range. So losing about a second and almost a second and a half now on the times. So Thomas, these tires are starting to wear. Seems like Michael Lariah, one of the drivers making those tires last the best, is he looks to be the fastest car at the front right now.
Yeah, and especially a track like this, when you start losing that grip, it's the drivers that know how to find that grip that they end up usually being at the front. I know from experience with Michael Lariah, he's a very good at saving his tires. So is Nick Cohen, though. When we raced at Lance in the Cup Series a couple months ago, Nick was one of the fastest cars there on the long run. As you see him, he's using that outside. He's got these saved tires. He gets around the 2 car. He's coming out with the momentum. He wants to get after the 44. He's figured out something here tonight, and I gotta say, it's going to be a good race to see what happens here.
I talked about how he had quite a car last week at Daytona, but didn't get the result he wanted, to finish 22nd. Not a place you want to start a championship run in. However, good turnaround tonight. And after seemingly that Daytona was going to be the best fortune tonight for Freenash, I mentioned that he wasn't up front for most of that race. Was mid-pack, not in the lead pack, but The way the late race yellows and wrecks transpired put him in contention to go for the win. Could this be the night that Freenosh slips back? He has gained more spots, but he's only up to 15th, and look at what he's dealing with. Fighting with Chris Ravel and William Schmidt in a battle for 13th and 14th. That's on the right-hand side of your screen. While on the left, Cohen is knocking on the door on that the Sim Speed Shop Chevrolet of Michael Araya, who's going to go way to the outside. Cohen's going to get the advantage here, but that 44 should have the run off the corner to shake him loose, and they are door to door for a moment off of 4. Advantage again to Laraya.
Very close advantage there, as well as Cohen came right up the track, barely having room to move his way back into line as Michael O'Ryan goes right back to the outside. Nick Cohen on the inside. What is Sam Nieto going to do? Can he catch up to this lead group? A great run off, too, for Nick Cohen on the inside. The number 21 wants the lead, but the number 44, Michael Araya, gonna try and hold it through turn 3. Another send to the inside for Nick Cohen in the 21. Through 3 and 4. Can he clear him this time? What can Araya do? He's not gonna be able to do anything. And another lead change. Right back to the lead is pole sitter Nick Cohen. And a crossover move as well from Michael Araya to go right back to the bottom.
As Dale Jr. likes to say, slide job. Oh man, this is such great racing. Nick's found something with the tires here to make him work on the bottom, but Laraya just keeps using that top line, using the momentum, dives back underneath. The 2 car just watching this, waiting to see if he could get something out of here, maybe get the lead. All those cars behind him doing the same thing, all just waiting to see how this battle goes out. So Laraya dives it down to the bottom. Cohan rides the middle, and then he arcs it back down to the white line, chops the nose somewhat of the 2 car, gets the run off the corner, right back to the back bumper. He's gonna, let's see if he can look slow. No, oh, he gets a little loose. He's looking underneath though. The 2 gonna go with the 21 here. That's gonna give him some draft help. Will it be enough to clear him going into 1? Let's see what happens.
You'll be hard-pressed to find better racing than this. They are all over each other in the battle for the race lead. Cohen trying to squeeze Laraya, and he shuts the door. What a break that Michael Laraya gave to Nick Cohen right there. The 21 was a little bit indecisive on pulling up and shutting the door, and if he really wanted to, Michael Laraya could have drove straight through that 21. Instead, he lifts, gives him a break, and now Sam Nieto fights for the race lead. I promise you, Michael Araya's got that now in the back of his mind. Should these 2 be fighting for the race win in the closing laps? He'll now give the push to Sam Nieto on the bottom. Nieto now going to try to put the slide on the 21 car, but Cohen does a good job of staying alongside. The hole's not there, and the 21's going to have the speed off of turn 2.
Drag race down the back straightaway as there's the run for the 21. That's going to be enough to clear him on the number 2 of Sam Nieto. Question is, what can the 2 do? He's going to go right back to the bottom. Cohen's going to protect that lane. Can Laraya get a run through the middle line? Don't think he's far enough up towards the wall to get the run. The Kyle Larson run off the corner that he's so famous for. Still side by side for second place as Nieto goes way down to the bottom. Now trying to salvage what he can, battling with Laraya. Back to the bottom in turn 1 as they'll stay side by side for second. Brandon Bowie is going to join this fight. You're on board with the 34 now as he tries to get a run off turn 2, trying to join the fight for the race lead. He's going to have a run. Is he going to look to the inside on Nieto? No, he won't. He gives a shot to the number 2, sending him a little bit far forward as here comes Nick Silver as well in the 4. Everybody's starting to catch up to each other. The top 13 right now are separated by a second and a half. This is wild racing.
Are we sure we're not back in Daytona again? I don't think I've seen any kind of racing like this in quite a while. But you can see that top line is just, it's starting to form. You got all the 21 and the 2, they're only ones that are on the bottom. Everybody else, it looks like, from about 3rd to 10th, I would guess. They're all running the top. Oh, Michael Araya with the dive bomb down. Well, not the dive bomb, the crossover. The 2's pushing and going into 3 here. Going to use that little bit of draft. Can the 44 clear the 21? Looks like he might be able to here. What's the 21 going to do? Is he going to chop the 2 car? No, the 2 car is going to stay underneath and maybe get the run off the corner. Nope, 21's got the momentum. These 3 have been going at it. Like, there's just... I said it in the pre-race show, 110% riding the razor's edge. But don't look now, that 34 and the 4, they're just laying back. The two teammates there, they are waiting. They are just, we got the 92 on pit road coming in for tires. Looks like pit stop sequences are about to begin.
Interesting play in the pit strategy because Liam Sheen pits on his own. These drivers were just on pit lane under the caution flag 26 laps ago. So this is way short and is right at halfway in this Sim Speed Shop 160. So maybe he feels like he can go the 40 to the end and wants to go for the short pit, but I don't know if getting out of the draft is necessarily the answer. I know you may want to avoid some of this aggressive racing, but I feel like this is the fastest place to be, is in these battles on the racetrack. So watching the up front, you can see the 44, Lariah way to the outside. Cohen's going to work the middle. Way to the inside is Sam Nieto. But since we are halfway home, let's take a look top to bottom at your Sim Speed Shop midway race break. As the battle for the lead laps Liam Sheen. He should be able to unlap himself, and look at the fresh tires on the bottom like it's nothing. So as we run now, and this will change as we go, but let's say Michael Lariah is the race leader. No, he wasn't going to cross him over. Give it to Nick Cohen. He leads at the end of lap number 41. And Michael Lariah in second and Sam Nieto in third. Brandon Bowie sits in fourth right now, and Nick Silver right there in P5. Kyle Trudell is sixth at the moment. Ross Cato is scored in seventh. Brandon Six is in eighth. Grant Davis is in ninth. And Joseph Tice is in P10. Josh?
Andrew Farina is going to be in P11 currently. Kyle Kamer in P12. Dylan Parker sits P13. Chris Rabel in P14. Brian Chambliss going to round out the 15 cars at the front of the field with Jeremy Miller, Nicholas Mara, Rhett McBride, William Schmidt, and Dane Cruz rounding out the top 20, Thomas.
Yep, and it'll be at least on my meter, it'll be for Jaron Weinmeister in 21st, 22nd, Michael Kaczynski 23rd, Bradley Burke 24th, James Pascarella 25th, Sean Casto 26th, Matthew Mara 27th, James Ross 28th, and Liam Sheen, the last car in the lead lap, in 29th. But with the way this order is changing every lap, I don't know who's who anymore.
Yeah, 29 cars in the lead lap's pretty good at this point in the race. Steve So is 2 laps down in 30th. So is Braden Whitaker in 31st position. But Whitaker just brought him to the pit lane, so his night may be done. That means that Tim Johnston can pick up a spot. He's 3 laps down in 32nd. But the cars in the garage include Trey Browning 33rd, Josh Ball 34th, Kenny Brady 35th, and Malik Ray at the back after that opening lap accident in 36th position. That's a look top to bottom at your Sim Speed Shop midway race break. Sim Speed Shop manufactures sim racing hardware that utilizes the best components available, as well as mixing in real-world components to their products to give you the most realistic racing experience out there. Customize your hardware and rig today by visiting simspeedshop.com for more information. Proud title sponsor of the 2022 RealSimRacing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. So was thinking, and let's talk fuel for a minute here, Josh. 100% fuel in these cars. Was thinking with Liam Sheen pitting it halfway and going for the way undercut that maybe some other drivers would bite. But the fact that nobody besides Grant Davis, who just pitted now, from anywhere in the top 20 has done it, makes it seem like he is way in the minority on that call.
Well, yes, it is a big attempt at an undercut, as we see now the 24 of Davis start to work his way into the pit lane. The fuel window is 44 to 46 laps, so he's good to the end on fuel. We're not talking about the issue of, is he good to the end on fuel? We're more talking about, is he going to be around anybody? Now he's just running, doing laps, not passing anybody on the racetrack. He is running fairly alone right now. The 92 of Liam Sheen. Going to be the same thing for Grant Davis when that 24 comes back onto the racetrack. They're just running alone on the racetrack, so they're burning those tires up over a bit of a long run for no reason. These drivers who are going to use this fuel tank to the maximum that they possibly can are going to be in a better position with their tires late in this race when they pit with only about 26-25 laps to go. That's a lot better than having 40 laps on your tires coming to the checkered flag tonight.
I was going to say, with this strategy, I think we also have the 88 coming to pit road now, so he might be trying something of this strategy as well. I've done this strategy before, and it can either be a race winner or it can be a complete disaster of a race. I've done it with the 2-stop strategy, pit early, hope I get the caution. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, but it's an interesting gamble. I like it. We'll see what the 88 can do with it as we see him coming down the pit road now. Hopefully he can get into a stall much better this time, but you're right. They're going to be out there on those tires for a lot longer. But we may get a caution sooner than later because these guys are racing 5 wide, and my God, I love it.
They are working hard, and that's the thing, right? Normally, if you're racing really hard, you may want to get out of that, right? Pit to get away from that group because these guys are eating away at their tires. But you mentioned how important the draft was, and that's why I still think it's a bit of a gamble because I think you're running faster in this lead pack than you are by yourself. So these guys are going to get fresh tires. Kato's down to the pit lane as well. They're going to get fresh rubber. They're going to be quick. But you can see Frinosh right there. He'll unlap himself in a moment. It's going to be a little bit tricky to do so, but he'll unlap himself. The real question becomes when you're burning up those tires, when these guys pit eventually, they're going to get fresh rubber, and then they're going to be in a group. I don't know if the undercut works, but we are 3 wide for the race lead. Sam Nieto pinches Cohen. Look out as the 24 car of Davis unlaps himself on the outside. Sam Nieto giving 0 room to Nick Cohen in the battle for the race lead.
Lariah made the dive to the pit lane. He decided he was having enough of the on-track action. He's going to take his pit stop. Look at the 88 Andrew Farinage going right up to the outside. He's going to power around these drivers to put himself back on the lead lap. But now we're seeing a lot more of these leaders come into the pit lane here, leaving out the top 11 on the racetrack, and then 17th, 18th, and 19th, Casto, Mara, and Ross all still on the racetrack, have not pitted under this cycle, and it doesn't look like anybody really up at the top of the field is going to come in that time by. 9th place, Rhett McBride also staying out. We'll see what happens with William Schmidt and James Pascarella as Cohen going to get right on by Sam Nieto. So is Brandon Bowie as Nieto got caught up a little bit in lap traffic as we're 3 wide with the lap traffic here coming out of the corner. I believe they're almost 4 wide there for a moment.
Hey, maybe. Look at Rabel now.
I was going to say, this is just... You know, I call Daytona organized chaos. I think this is organized chaos, but with a lot more wheel input, I gotta say. But I don't have any words right now. This is just fantastic racing, guys. Oh, and the 21 of Cohen, he's coming to pit road. He's had enough. I figure he would have maybe stayed out until maybe 30 to go, or not, it is 30 to go, 20 to go, sorry. This could be a race-winning move for him, but we'll see what happens with it as the leaders still stay on there. I think we have, what, the top 10, I think, guys?
Yeah, looking at the top 11 drivers who have yet to pit, plus Casto and Mara in 13th and 14th position. James Ross still needs to pit from 20th, but all of a sudden, group of 1 here, a group of 2 there. We have seen a lot of drivers come in from service. There are less than 30 laps to go in this race, and for the cars who have yet to pit, they've been out there now for 37 laps. So we are past that midway point in the run. The window is wide open, and now you can see Sam Nieto responds. He will now pit from the race lead. Pit road speed, 55 miles an hour, nice and clean in. Everybody who is going to pit road is taking 4 tires of fuel. They are only burning their 2nd set of tires. They all will have 2 remaining should this race have a little bit of late theatrics. But the battle up front continues to rage on. Bowie, Silver, Six, Parker, Chambliss, and Kamer all racing down the back straightaway. Look at Silver going high to low in that number 4 MRN Toyota Supra. Who comes to pit lane this time? Well, I wonder if it almost looked like Braden Six wanted to get the pit road, but his teammate, the 9 of Chambliss, got under him. Maybe it was just a bobble by the 66, but if you're pitting, you need to clear yourself to the bottom, and you need to let the cars behind you know that you're coming in.
Yeah, this track is just so wide, Evan, that it really acts like Daytona or Talladega. You got to start planning when you're going to pit about 2 laps before you even make it into the pit lane, because you need to plan, okay, when do I need to get to the bottom? If anybody's around me, I got to make sure I have that inside line. It's very much like Daytona and Talladega, where there you're trying to get into the bottom line to make it easy for you to come down into the pit lane, so you have to come across other cars. And it also just means that you need to be down there, needs to be able to get to the pit lane, as we see Bowie come in, Nick Silver come in, Brandon Six come in. That leaves the top 3 out on the racetrack, as Rhett McBride still stays out from P7. We'll see what happens with James Pasquarella as he works his way off of turn number 4. Pasquarella will also stay on the racetrack, as Dylan Parker in the 3 is going to assume the race lead.
So now these gentlemen, all driving these cars, are waiting for hopefully a caution. They want the track position. They want the freshest possible tires. That's the only thing I can see staying out this long, because almost everybody is pitted now. I'll see the 3 pits this time by. Yes, Nick Silver is now coming. He'll be one of the last ones to pit. And now begins the second phase of the race. Ooh, it gets a little squirrely on the pit road. This will be now the second phase of the race, as I call it, from a driver's perspective. Now, first half of this race, we had everybody all grouped together, all in a bunch. Nobody could get away from anybody. Now, it's going to be who can save the tires the best, who's got the freshest tires, who can take the oldest tires and keep them going. Because everybody's going to be spaced out now. Less opportunities for cautions, a little bit more opportunity to get the car rotated the way you want to get up to the car ahead of you and get every position possible.
And certainly you're going to see a lot more racing and less pack racing. Right now that we have this separation is Brian Chambliss, next driver to come down. He will give up the race lead, and that will leave Kyle Kamer, Rhett McBride, and James Pasquarella as the only drivers in the top 5 who have yet to come down to the pit lane. Chambliss is in through this time. So we talk about where this is going to put us. Your net race leader is Liam Sheen. Remember Liam Sheen, who pitted way before anybody else did. He has been out on the tires that he's on now for 16 laps. You compare that to guys like Freenach, who pitted 9 laps ago, and even, Nick Cohen, your race leader before all of this, he only pitted 5 laps ago. So the reason that Liam Sheen is going to cycle through to the net race lead is because, again, Josh, to what we were talking about earlier, he got on fresh tires first. So he started putting down fast laps while everybody else was fighting for position on older tires. Now it's going to be a flip side. He's going to have the lead, but his tires are 7 laps older than Freenach. His tires are 11 laps older than Nick Cohen. Those drivers will now have the speed advantage and will have to use the next 23 laps in this race to try to close back in and catch on up. So that's kind of the state of things right now. We can't put a bow tie on this pit cycle until Kamer, McBride, and Pasquarella pit. I wonder if these drivers are just going to run the fuel all the way down to see if they can catch a timely yellow, because they've been out there now for 43 plus laps on this run.
Well, they can go ahead and try that, because honestly at this point for Kamer, for McBride, they really don't have much to lose anymore. Once Liam Sheen really catches up to him, then they're going to be in trouble. But the interval between Sheen and McBride is still north of 10 seconds. And you take a look at the interval between Sheen and the next driver who he's trying to defend from, Andrew Farinarge. Here comes Pasquarella into the pit lane. It's about 6.4 seconds. Farinarge is faster. Right as I just said that, down into 6.3, starting to go down into 6.2 now. So Sheen is showing that extra tire wear over Andrew Farinarge, but it becomes a big question mark of, does Michael Loraya have that much more tire advantage than the 88 of Farinarge? With only 2 tires, or two laps separating the age on those tires. You go back to Nick Cohen, 2 more laps, 4 laps going to separate him and Farinarge on tire age. I don't know if 4 laps is going to be enough to give Nick Cohen as much of an advantage over Andrew Farinarge and be able to catch him in the last ending 22 laps of this race. I think we could be looking at a Liam Sheen versus Andrew Farinarge race. If anything, Farinarge versus Kyle Trudell, who's a half second back from the 88 coming off turn 2.
And I would say this, though, between those two, there's one thing I have noticed. They are more or less by themselves. They do not have any draft help other than the 404 Brandon Whitaker for the 92 here for half a straightaway, basically. The other guys from Kyle Trudell on back, as they are catching the 88, they're going to have draft help. And that's 7, the 44, the 21. All of them have fresher tires than Andrew. They should be able to get by the 88. The question is going to be, can they line up and catch the 92 with that draft? I'm not saying that the amount of tire difference is a detriment to them, but the tires tend to even out. You usually can kind of hold on to it, so it may be a race-winning gamble for Liam Sheen, but it's a hell of a one if he gets it.
What a gamble, indeed. I mean, it's not like, as we see Lariah go to the inside, it's not like Liam Sheen was out of this race when he made that call, right? It's not a mid-pack car making that gamble, as we see Rhett McBride, right-hand side of your screen, pit and give up the number 2 position on track. I mean, Sheen was in the mix, so it takes even that much more gall, I think, to take a car that's in a battle for the race win and still go off strategy. And you wonder how this one's all going to shake out. Just waiting on only Kyle Kamer to come down pit road. He has been on this set for 47.5 laps, and Kamer is in. So as he pits for service, the race lead officially will be handed off to Liam Sheen, and the battle on the left-hand side of your screen resumes being the battle for second. Freenosh slides up in front, stays in front of Kyle Trudell. Trudell is all over him. Yes, they're fighting with each other, but they still need to get up to Liam Sheen. And right now, they sit about 5 seconds and change off of Sheen, who's the new race leader.
Yeah, 4.5 seconds to be approximate on that gap right now. And Sheen at the front, looking comfortable, but with 19 to go, and with Trudell and Lariah battling, now moving Andrew Farinarj into that mix. Farinarj, if he had nobody around him, was starting to chase down the race leader. They're still continuing to catch him. 3 wide down the front straightaway here. I think they are assuming they're going to be racing for the win here because they're catching up to Liam Sheen at a rather high rate, but as long as they continue to battle, that could mean differently as they stay 3 wide, now back to 2. Farinarj is going to get a great run through the middle, trying to power around Lariah. They go right back to 3 wide as the 77 is 1 lap down. That's James Pasquarella. Next driver on the lead lap these drivers are battling with is Joseph Thies, who sits in P5.
And I was going to say, the more that these guys, they keep battling like this, they may catch the 92. But here's the thing with the 92's got going with Liam Sheen here. He's just cruising, essentially. He's saving his tires. He knows that they're battling. I'm sure he's got somebody in his ear telling him, hey, those guys behind you, they're using their stuff up. Save your tires. He's hoping that these tires will even out, give or take, with maybe 10 laps to go, and hopefully he'll have at least a big enough of a lead that he can hold them off. But the more that the 88, the 7, the 44, more they battle each other, I just, from a driver's perspective, I would have fallen in line and said, hey, we've got better tires than the guy in the lead. Let's all sit single file, draft, get to him, then we could sell it amongst ourselves. But that's just not how some drivers think. Some have to go for it. They have to be the one to charge because they know, hey, I got a shot. I'm going to win. You can go, and I'm going to go win this race.
I was about to say, looking at the cars in this mix, I'm most impressed by Joseph Thies, and he's going to be one of 2 as we see Lariah make the middle work and now get ahead of Freenosh, side by side with the 7 of Kyle Trudell and the ongoing fight for P2. I mean, all these drivers were in the mix early, right? We really hadn't talked much about Joseph Thies until recently. He's plus 16 positions. He is tied for the biggest mover in this race with one Dylan Parker, who started 30th but is way down in 14th. So it has been big gains for Joseph Thies. But before the pit cycle, all of these drivers were racing against each other. Freenosh had just barely cracked back into the top 10 after maybe the worst pit stop he has ever had in his career, going for the race lead to some 22nd position after missing the box under caution to flag conditions. So he used the undercut not to gain an advantage, but to actually insert himself into this pack, right, to get in this draft. And now he needs to hope that that little bit of a disadvantage he has on tires, right? Remember, 1 lap older than Trudell's, 2 laps older than Tyson Lariah. Hope that it's a minuscule enough difference that he can use this draft to stay with these race cars. Last time by, Liam Sheen put down a 43.248. It was a 42.711 for Lariah. So this battle for second is pacing on average about a half a second faster than Liam Sheen. They should catch him within 5 laps. And don't look now, but that 6th orange car in line, Nick Cohen joining the party as well as he's closing in from P6.
It's not going to be a good party for Liam Sheen as here they come, starting to catch him. Now that will go inside of 2 seconds as they'll work their way down the front straightaway back into turn 1. A great effort from Liam Sheen. Not going to have the tire to make it work at the end, which is so unfortunate for that number 92 JDR Graphics Chevy Camaro. But how about this battle for P2 on the racetrack right now? About to be the battle for the lead once they catch Liam Sheen at the front. Michael Lariah now is at the front of this group. Kyle Trudell, a great run from him after starting P9, will be there in P3. Andrew Farinage, you mentioned him, Evan, and all the trials he has gone through in this race, specifically after that botched pit stop. He is back up in the top 5 as Joseph Tice is going to round out those spots. How about Tice? Up 16 spots from starting P21. A great night for the 5, but he's going to have the 21 of Nick Cohen starting to breathe down his neck and start to want to knock down that door of the top 5.
I mean, I'm surprised you guys don't have more faith in Liam. I want to see this gamble pay off. I know the numbers aren't in my favor, but I think this is great. But you're not wrong. These guys are probably going to catch him, but I want to see if Liam can fight them as hard as they can. But it always seems to be like this when it comes to RSR throughout 2021 this year. The usual suspects, they're up at the front. They know how to close out these races. Sometimes the order isn't exactly as it should be. You know, sometimes you have Brandon Bowie winning. Tonight he's ranked 10th, but then you might have Joseph Tice. He might be up in the top 5, usually, as he usually is. Sometimes he runs 10th. That's just how competitive this series is. But going back to the championship battle already, remember, we talked about it with Andrew Freenage. He had a issue on pit road. What do championship winning drivers do? They find ways to make the best of a worst case scenario, and he has done that in spades over and over again. And as a driver, it drives me insane because I cannot figure out how to beat him yet. But that's what makes it fun, to figure out how you can beat the best drivers, and this series definitely has some of the best out there.
And that time of the start-finish line at 10 laps to go here tonight from iRacing's virtual Auto Club Speedway. You're watching round number 2 of the 2022 RealSimRacing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. Liam Sheen leading this race went for the way early undercut and pitted halfway in this race at lap 40, some 31 laps ago, to take over the race lead. Now the cars behind have been chipping at his lead, once to the tune of 0.7 of a second per lap, then 5. Now it's down closer to 3. So we are starting to see that tire advantage wane for the likes of Lariah, Trudell, Freenage, Cohen, and Tice inside of the top 6 that are trying to challenge him for the race lead. I still think they get there, but the question is, by the time they do, has Sheen been able to conserve enough on his own to take it back to them? This run has been very different than that early one when it was pack racing and crossovers. This one has been more of drivers picking each other off, and look at this one. Cohen to the inside of Andrew Freenage, who is starting to slip away. Freenage also went for the short pitch strategy. Cohen takes it away for 4th, but Andrew's going to fight back. Your Daytona winner wants some more, and he'll drive back down to the inside. Going off to turn 1, 8 laps to go.
You can see that gap for the lead down to half a second, but remember when the lap times between Sheen and second place, at the time it was Andrew Farinaj, was about 6 tenths, upwards of a second at some points. The lap times are now within 2 tenths. So Sheen, the lap times are starting to even out, which is great for Liam Sheen. He's able to hold off for longer than I think he was expecting, and definitely we were expecting. 7 to go. Loraya is starting to catch him. He is within now 2 tenths for the race lead. You can see it there, and he has Kyle Trudell in tow. How easy is the pass going to be? He can catch him all he wants here, Thomas, but you know, as a racer, it's difficult to make the pass. Sheen's gonna not go too defensive. He tries to get the run on the outside, but the fresh tires on Loraya is gonna be too much for the 92, and there goes the 44 back to the lead. Sheen's gonna go for a crossover down the back.
Oh, as a racer, at this point, you're not thinking about tires. You're trying to make it hell on these guys to get around you. You're trying to Ryan Newman it, especially with the win on the line. I wanted Sheen to be able to do something. I just don't think he's got enough tires. He throws a little bit of a block on the 7, though. The 44 used the outside coming out of 3 to get that run off the corner. 7 probably going to have to try and do something similar to get around this 92, because if he doesn't get around Liam Sheen quick, he's going to lose touch with that 44, and that might be the end of any shot he's got to win. But don't count out that 21 there on the high side. If you can get around the 88, start running these guys down. 5 laps may not seem like, oh, Nick's in the wall. Never mind, I jinxed him. God. Sorry, Dave.
Giving it too much. Puts it into the fence there off of 2 as he was trying to get back to the outside of Freenash. Freenash came up, but I think that was fair. Freenash didn't drive him into the wall. I think it was the 21 trying to stay into the gas to stay alongside Andrew. And now the 77's into the outside wall. Huge hit for James Pasquarella. That's a lapped car that was in the mix there, trying to stay in contention for the lucky dog. He gets into the wall as well. So everybody now overdriving these cars, trying to force a little bit more out of them. What you're looking at now, that was the battle for 4th. Freenash on back, but Michael Araya is starting to break free up front. Trudell's gotten up to 2nd. She may be able to hang on to 3rd if that group 4th on back can't catch up. But what a turnaround this could be for Michael Araya. Ran up front, led laps at Daytona, but only finished 27th. A very similar story to that I was talking about with Nick Cohen. Good car, but the plate track bit him. And Michael Araya, a race win in round number 2 would be a great way to dig himself out of a hole and reignite his championship hopes. He is leading by 4 tenths of a second inside of 4 laps to go.
And trying to walk away with a great finish. We've been talking about Loraya all night. He started P4 and since the start has been running up front, has been one of the drivers to beat at the front of the field, seeing exactly why that 44 is quick. But don't count out Kyle Trudell. He's still within striking distance here. Gonna go down to about a 10 separating these two. Trudell currently tied for 6th in the point standings, and you can see how defensive Michael Araya is getting as Trudell's gonna take a peek to the inside in 1 with 3 to go.
He is not going to give this one up, Thomas. The 7 car fights back to the inside. They are side by side for the race lead.
How much has that 7 car been saving his tires? That is the question. Michael Araya on the 44 using the outside to keep the momentum. He wants to. He's going to pinch him down coming into 3 on the white line. He's there. Oh, we almost have contact. It's just neck and neck. So close. One mistake could cost him the race here. We're coming here to the closing stages. 2 to go.
2 laps to go. Trudell to the inside. Loraya to the outside. If they come to blows, they have a 1.7 second advantage over the likes of Freenash and company. 3rd place on the back as Liam Sheen is getting swallowed up by the pack. But the outside in turn 2 pays off. Loraya clears and has got the momentum down the back straightaway.
Is Trudell gonna have another opportunity to go for this race win? How badly does the 7 want it, and how badly is the 44 willing to defend it? Off of turn 4, they're not gonna be side by side here. Can Trudell get the draft? Can Trudell go for the race win? It's white flag this time.
And he's 2 car lengths ahead, Thomas. The 7's gonna need a lot now as this race is official.
Kyle's got to get a good run off of 2 here. Let's see what line he takes. Lariah's going up. He's just a little bit higher. Should have the momentum. Trudell goes down to the white line, tries to get the run off the corner. Is it going to be enough? Let's see what happens here halfway to home.
Final time down the back straightaway. What can Kyle Trudell? The gap is 2 car lengths, maybe 1.5. He'll go to the inside, try to drive alongside. Lariah's gonna spool it up top. The 7 can't make it stick, and Michael Lariah is gonna get his first Winter Series win, victorious tonight in Fontana.
The 7 of Trudell went for it through turn 4. He slammed the wall in the front straightaway. It wasn't enough in the end. What a battle for the race win there that developed in the last 5 laps, and what a win for the 44 of Michael Lariah. That Sim Speed Shop Chevrolet Camaro is going to be heading to virtual victory lane.
What a drive, and Thomas, we thought maybe that it was going to be Liam Sheen hanging on for the win. He slid back late, and honestly, a tip of the hat to Kyle Trudell, because when Lariah cleared him with 5 laps to go, I thought it was done, but the 7 did everything he could. He kept it clean, and Lariah used that outside to hold him off.
He raced as every racer should race. He saved a little bit in the tank. He gave it the one last shot. Gave the 44 Michael Lariah all the respect in the world as the fireworks go in the air. Michael Lariah burns it down, and guys, I'm coming back next week. This was a blast to watch. That I have not seen a race that good in a long time. Well, except last week. We got another 2 great weeks of finishes in a row here. Let's see if we can make it 3 for 3, shall we?
What a wild night in Fontana, California, and a deserving celebration for Michael Lariah, his 2nd campaign in the RealSimRacing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series, and now a winner in these Xfinity cars. And you can see the congratulations there from Grant Davis, who pulls alongside on the front straightaway. Let's take a look at your Sim Speed Shop full race results tonight from the Virtual Auto Club Speedway as the celebration continues. The race win goes to Lariah. The final margin of victory, 1.97 tenths of a second, ahead of Andrew Friedosh, who despite the huge bobble and despite no other yellows to help him out, races his way from outside of the top 20 to 3rd. We will talk with those 3 drivers in just a few. Joseph Tyus and Nick Cohen round out your top 5 with Sam Nieto, Liam Sheen, Brandon DeBuey, Brian Chambliss, and Ross Cato. Josh, our top 10.
Dylan Parker is going to finish P11. Grant Davis, Nick Silver, Chris Rabel, and Brandon Six going to round out the top 15. With Kyle Kamer, Jeremy Miller, Rhett McBride, Dane Cruz, and Nicholas Mara rounding out the top 20. Thomas?
In 21st, it's Jared Weinmeister, Michael Kaczynski in 22nd, with Tassi Major in 23rd, William Schmidt in 24th, James Pasquarella in 25th, Sean Casto in 26th, Matt Mara in 27th, James Ross in 28th, Steve Soa in 29th, and Tim Johnston in 30th.
Rest of these cars limped it home. Braden Whitaker was on track for 31st. The rest were DNFs for Bradley Burke 32nd, Trey Browning 33rd, Josh Ball 34th, Kenny Brady 35th, and Malik Ray in P36. That's a look top to bottom at your Sim Speed Shop full race results. Sim Speed Shop manufactures sim racing hardware that utilizes the best components available, as well as mixing in real-world components to their products to give you the most realistic racing experience possible. Customize your hardware and rig today by visiting simspeedshop.com for more information. Proud title sponsor of the 2022 Real Sim Racing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. Well, let's try to catch a word with your race winner. Michael Lariah is in Sim Speed Shop victory lane. We are stood by with the driver of the 44 Chevrolet. Michael, congratulations on the win. Just walk us through the final 3 quarters of that race, right? I mean, all the hard racing we saw up front for the race win, but then really the timing on the pit stops there under green, which looked like it was what set everything up for the run to the end.
Yeah, just a lot happened throughout that race. I know what was key was that green flag pit stop in the middle of the race there. We were battling really hard for the lead at that point, and it was really easy to get trapped behind not only lead lap cars, but lap cars or cars that were coming through the pack that had fresher tires. And so I knew that I couldn't waste any time battling the cars, and I had to get on pit road and really execute getting onto pit road, because that was going to make a big difference. And luckily, I was able to kind of find a hole in the bottom and get into pit lane without too much of an issue. I know my teammate Sam Nieto, he was having some trouble getting on pit road just because he was trapped behind some cars. So that was really important there. And then things just kind of played out and cycled back up. And towards the end there, I was battling Andrew and Kyle really hard there. And Kyle was putting up a hell of a fight. He had a little bit older tires, I believe, but it probably wasn't by much because he was hanging in there. And I thought once I got by him there at the end that I was going to kind of set sail. Then all of a sudden he just found something. And I don't know if I was maybe taking it too easy or what, or maybe he was just saving a little bit. But man, he came on strong there. And I was doing all I could to hang on. And I was trying to race him as clean as I could and kind of take the air away from his front end there. And it was just a really good hard racing up front there. And man, I didn't want to give that one away. I would have been kicking myself. So I was doing all I could, and luckily I was able to hang on.
Yeah, I know you guys have been looking for the race win here in the Winter Series for some time, right? You guys had 4 top 5 finishes in this championship last year and finished third in the title fight behind, one of the most memorable championship fights we've seen in some time between Dancet and Friedrich that came down to the final race. A slow start for you in the year at Daytona. How big is this win for you in terms of getting things righted and being a serious contender here over the course of the next 8 weeks?
This is absolutely huge. It's been a long time since I won in RSR, so that was kind of the goal, just to find victory lane again, and to do it, this early within the season. Granted, it is a shorter 10-race season, but still, nonetheless, to be able to do it the second race in is excellent. And I felt good coming into this race, and I knew. Just being able to qualify up front and maintain track position was going to be really important, and it just worked out. But yeah, what a big confidence booster this is, and this is what I needed after Daytona. Daytona was kind of depressing. I mean, going into those plate tracks, it's just a crapshoot. You know that any lap you're going to get wrecked, and unfortunately it happened. But it happened while I was running up front and with my teammates, and unfortunately we pretty much all got collected there. So, I mean, I felt like we were executing last week, and it just didn't pan out. But this week, same deal. I know Sam and we were really strong all night, and then Joey, he was coming on really good at the end there on the long run. So overall, this is great for myself, but it's really good for the team as a whole. We're really starting to show some speed and just showing up more prepared each week. So I'm excited moving forward.
One thing we pointed out early on in this race, and we've been talking about it over the course of the 2 weeks now, is how diverse this schedule is, right? There's not a handful of tracks like each other. Does that make it more difficult to take the momentum from a race win tonight and keep it going if we go to a totally different place like in Iowa next week, and then in 2 weeks go to Mid-Ohio? I mean, with so much different kind of challenges that you get on this calendar, what's going to be the key to keeping things going in the right direction, specifically when we go to Iowa next week?
Well, I know for some drivers it will be a struggle going from a 2.5 mile track with some high banks and just that sort of nature of a track to Iowa, where it's more of a short track. But I will say Iowa is probably one of the best tracks on iRacing where you can move your line. And I mean, Auto Club, it wasn't until really this year that you're able to move around. But I think there's some similarities there. You really got to be open to switching your lineup and just experimenting a bit. And Iowa is one of those tracks. So I think you're actually going to see a lot of the guys that ran well tonight actually run pretty well at Iowa. But moving forward, I mean, as you said, the schedule is really diverse. I personally love this schedule. I feel like not only with the Xfinity car, but just some of these tracks we're going to, namely Iowa, Rockingham, Chicagoland. Really looking forward to those tracks coming up. Those are drivers' race tracks. So I think you're going to notice probably in the next race or two, you're going to see a pattern of who's going to be running consistently up front. And I still think it's like the cream rises to the top, and this league is no exception. So yeah, you might have drivers here and there struggle, but I think for the most part, a lot of the same players are going to be up front.
Well, we'll let you get out of here and get to celebrating. Before we do so, Michael, who do you want to say hi to from Victory Lane?
I got to give a shout out to my sponsor, Sim Speed Shop, for not only just being on board the car this year, but also helping out sponsoring the Winter Series. It's really cool to be representing a sponsor for the league. And then also, of course, I got to thank my flat out teammates, Bradley Burke, Grant Davis, Joseph Tice, and Sam Nieto. Just, putting in the work each week and just making us better. And of course, you, Evan, for running the league, and everybody that joins you in the broadcast to make it happen.
We appreciate you not only, for joining us here this afternoon and chatting with us, Michael, but I appreciate you and your entire team for being a part of this Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. Congratulations on the win, and we'll catch you guys next week at Iowa.
All right. Thanks, guys.
The race winner tonight in the Sim Speed Shop 160, Michael Laraya in Victory Lane in round number 2 of this 2022 RSR Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. We'll move on down the line. Josh Lee, second place finish tonight for Kyle Trudell. You're down with the driver of the 7.
And a great run tonight for the 7 of Kyle and Trudell. And Kyle, you were so close to the win late. We'll talk about that in a moment, but talking about the beginning of this race, that first run, how was that car feeling as we started to get into the long green flag run after those 2 early yellow flags that we had?
Yeah, hey, how you guys doing? The car was pretty good. It's just a super tight setup, so being patient was key on that right front and making sure, especially for myself, that I didn't burn it up too badly. So staying out of trouble was definitely the goal the first maybe 10-20 laps.
And then, of course, we went into that long green flag run that led to the pit stops around lap 50, and you found yourself up towards the net front of the field and finding yourself up at the front towards the end. You made a move on the 44 of Michael Laraya, but you could not get it. What was missing? What else did you need in that number 7 Toyota Supra to be at the front and be down in virtual victory lane tonight?
Well, I felt like we were very similar on speed, there, and felt like I maybe had just a slight advantage if I could have chosen my line. But Michael did a great job with fending me off there, and ultimately I think I just heated up the right front a little bit too much, and on that bottom line there, and ultimately that kind of I needed another couple of laps to come back at him, but we were super close. So I always like running with Michael. He's a super clean driver. He does a great job every week, and it was a blast racing with. I mean, that was one of the most fun races that I've had, not only in this league but on the service. These guys are fun to run with.
A ton of exciting action, especially towards the end of that race. And speaking of the good finish that you got in second place, what does that do for your confidence going into Iowa in 1 week's time, going into the rest of the campaign? Because we still have a lot of races left to go on this 10 race schedule. Does this give you a little bit more confidence heading into those 8 rounds that you can run up at the front and continue to move your way up from the point standings? You came in tied for 6th place. This is undoubtedly going to help you go further up to the top.
Yeah, I like running at Iowa. I feel like it's a little miniature version of this. So I'm expecting to be pretty good there. I mean, as long as I can run around, you know, 5th to 10th, you know, I can compete, just as long as, you know, I can stay out of trouble there. It's a little bit tighter off the corners, I would say, at Iowa than, you know, having a bunch of room in this wide racetrack could be a little bit more forgiving. But ultimately, you know, hopefully I can make each race week in and week out. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the set of racetracks that are all coming up, especially the road course. You know, always have a lot of fun with those, and as long as I can run top 10, man, I'll be happy.
Well, great to hear from you post-race, Kyle. Congratulations on your second place. Who makes it all possible for you in that number 7 team?
Yeah, all these XPM guys. You know, we got some newcomers to the team, and you know, everybody in my ear that was helping me out, especially with this race, and choosing the right time to pit there was super helpful. So you know, thanks to John and Jaron and Jeremy, Mike, of course, and all these guys. They help out a lot. Thank you guys as well for broadcasting. It's always awesome to watch these. Good win to Michael.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us once again here on RaceSpotTV. Evan, Kyle Trudell, a second place finish for the California native.
A great run for him as he comes home P2 tonight, and he's going to score a lot of points. We'll continue our post-race coverage down to Thomas George, who stood by with last week's winner and tonight's third place finisher, Andrew Freenosh.
Thank you, Evan, and I'm here with Andrew right now. And Andrew, was a pretty wild night for you. You know, started off really high, had to come back, had a little miscue on pit road there, and had to fight your way back through there to get to where you are right now. First question I got to ask, buddy, from a driver's standpoint is, what happened on pit road, and what'd you have to do to get back up to finish third tonight?
Yeah, I just thought I'd practice my parallel parking in the middle of a race. No, I ran my brake bias down at 57, and I could only get it up to 60, and it was too much. I got on the brake, the whole thing jumped sideways, so that was on me. I wanted to run it low, and I guess I ran it a little too low. From there, it was kind of just trying to ease our way back to the front and not wreck. I know Kenny got loose in the start there. We almost got junked, and my tires kind of got heated up there pretty good, so it was so hard to pass, and just we short pitted, and I don't know how the heck we held on for third, to be honest. We should have been like 6th or 7th. We just kind of got lucky there with guys battling, and yeah, I'm so happy with the third. It's most I could ask for after going back to 20th and how hard it was to pass. So.
I was going to say, you were definitely one of the first ones to actually make it to pit road, and you were able to hang on to third. Could you have done anything different with the tires? Was the right front gone? Was it just too loose? Was it too tight? Was there anything input-wise you could have done to maybe catch the 7 and the 44, or were you just holding on for dear life at that point?
Yeah, I've done a lot of testing, and I knew long pitting was the way to go. 3-lap difference I think they had on me. I knew I kind of didn't have a chance. I did what I could to fend them off. You know, if you get 20, 30 laps in, all the tires kind of even out, and I think you guys saw that at the end there. I was kind of able to hold on. I mean, they were still pulling me, but, you know, able not to lose any more spots. So it was, if I could have fought them off for another 20 laps, maybe, but that really realistically wasn't going to happen. I did all I could, and like I said, third I'm ecstatic with.
That's always a good thing, and, you know, you're racing with you for a number of years. Being able to come back from 20th at Auto Club to finish third is always a good thing. Especially helps you in the championship battle too. You should still be the points leader, as far as I can know. I don't know what the exact points are, but that's why they're champ, man. You keep doing it, and I got to figure out a way to beat you one of these days. But anybody you want to thank before we head you out tonight?
Yeah, big thanks to all you guys in the booth, Evan, for all the work you do. Thomas, I didn't even know you were broadcasting here. It's good to hear your voice.
Thanks. Hey, I figure I surprise everybody.
Yes, this is right on. I love it. Congratulations to Michael on the win, all the drivers. A big shout out to Liam there. We did a lot of practice together, and it sucks he couldn't hold on for the win there. And all the fans, hope we put on a good show. And I do want to say, let's bring back horsepower to NASCAR. I'm going to run it as long as I can on this car. So keep that alive. Let's get 900 horsepower back in the Cup cars, and maybe a small spoiler as well.
I support that statement 1,000%, Andrew. Appreciate you. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a good week.
Well, that is our third place finisher tonight, Andrew Freenosh, and a big thanks to all of our top finishers for giving us some time here post-race. Race winner Michael Araya, Kyle Trudell, and Andrew Freenosh. Well, I'll go back to you, Thomas, on this one for closing thoughts. First off, appreciate you giving us your insight as a driver's perspective on this one. Seems like you picked a good one to join us. It was a wild night at Fontana. We had some crazy racing up front and even a little bit of strategy mixed in there as well, as it's Michael Araya getting the win.
Oh, I definitely picked the right time to come do this again. I'm coming back next week, man. We got to go for another one. No, this was a blast to call with you guys. It's just, I love when racing gets like this. You have a mix of everything, like you said. It's just early stages. You have pack racing, nobody giving an inch or maybe a little bit so they don't get wrecked. And it's such a tightrope, especially with only 10 races. We've already 2 down. We got 8 more to go, but championship battles are won and lost just at the drop of a hat, and then you saw the strategy calls in the second half of the race, and it turned out to a space. Everybody was spaced out, and it just came down to who had the best tires at the end, and we still had a great finish at the end. It wasn't a walk away from anybody. You had multiple players that could have won this race. You had Nick Cohen on pole, Andrew Freenosh, you had Joseph Tice, Kyle Jardell, Liam Sheen, Brandon Bowie, and then your eventual winner, Michael Araya. You had numerous people that could win, and I just love the competitiveness this league brings out.
We appreciate you sticking with us, and we'll catch up with you at Iowa next week. Josh, as well, appreciate you jumping in and joining us here on this Monday night. And I think our producer Hugo mentioned at one point during the race that this felt more like Daytona than Daytona did, right? I mean, it was wide open. Drivers crossing each other over at every opportunity, and an exciting first win for Michael Araya to get himself back into this championship conversation, right? You heard it from him. He was up front leading laps. I talked about that earlier tonight, and that Daytona race wrecked out of it. Here tonight, he gets the win. His first win in the Winter Series. He's still 22 points back, though, of Andrew Freenosh. Listen, it's tough to catch a guy when his 2 finishes are first and third. Average finish of 2 through 2 rounds is not that bad, but he only has a 10-point advantage over the likes of Kyle Trudell in second in the championship, Brandon Bowie minus 11 in third. So the Drivers' Championship is still very close through 2 weeks. And as Michael pointed to, we're going to start to see trends as we get through maybe the first half of the schedule, even though the tracks are different. When we start to notice those trends, I'm curious if Freenosh's gap is going to grow or if it's going to shrink, because right now he's still within striking distance despite being almost perfect thus far.
Well, it's easy to bet on Andrew Freenosh, right? I mean, 4 straight RealSimRacing Cup Series championships, so you can bet on Andrew Freenosh any day of the week. But talking about Kyle Trudell, I think one of the most improved drivers over the last 2 weeks. Daytona finished around 6th place. He was tied for 6th coming into this race in the point standings. Getting this win is going to propel him a little bit further up as well. Freenosh is going to keep that points lead with his 3rd place finish, but now Trudell's starting to get into the mix. If he can continue that trend of momentum as we go through all of these unique tracks that we have coming up, I would not be surprised if we see Kyle Trudell fighting Freenosh for that Winter Series championship. It could happen over the next couple of weeks because, honestly, as we go through the middle portion of this calendar, not having a repeat track type really at all until round 8 at Talladega, it is going to be anybody's guess who walks away with the wins or the top 5 finishes for that matter in each of those races.
And Trudell as well, one of the most veteran drivers in the series, so he is somebody to look at as well. There's how the championship standings look as we leave here tonight. Freenosh on top, Trudell, Bowie, Cato, all in the mix. Araya, trying to dig himself out of a hole, is still in the conversation through 2 rounds. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. On behalf of our entire team at RaceSpotTV and RealSimRacing, and for your broadcast team tonight, for our producer downstairs, Hugo Luis, for Thomas George, Josh Lee, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Michael Araya. It's his 4th win at RSR. It's his 1st win in the Winter Series. We are back in 1 week's time next Monday, December the 6th from the Virtual Iowa Speedway. That race and every race of the 2022 RealSimRacing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series can be found exclusively here on RaceSpotTV. Until next time, good night tonight from Fontana, where it's Michael Araya in victory lane.